I should have listened to him and stayed away from that book. My night wasn't empty. It was filled with them. And what I read changed me forever. It wasn't just a hallucination. It's my story with the cursed night. I'm Nurhan, 16 years old. Since my childhood, I have loved horror books and movies, and everything related to the world of the dead, the summoning of jinn, and the dark realms. My story began when I heard my chemistry teacher, Adam, talking about strange things related to the world of jinn. He said that his grandfather owned very old books about magic, and every time he tried to read them, strange things happened. A power outage, unknown sounds, the shaking of the ground, or sudden winds. I was captivated by his words, especially since I had been researching these topics a lot. I used to buy books about them from bookstores and street vendors. Books that carried terrifying images of horned and frightening-faced creatures. I read a lot, but they all ended the same way. The jinn burned, and the heroine survived, so I got bored and threw them into my desk drawer. I live most of the time alone, as my parents are separated, and my father is always busy with work. Over time, I began to love solitude and silence. I asked Mr. Adam to lend me one of his old books, but he refused and warned me against reading them. Then one day, he said to me,
"I will give you the name of one book only, but never read it. Its name is The Only Path to Black Magic."
From that moment, my journey to find it began. I searched in bookstores, on the internet, and even with old booksellers, but to no avail. Until I accidentally came across an article talking about it, describing it as one of the rarest books of black magic, and that merely looking at its cover gives a strange feeling, and whoever reads it faces phenomena that no one else can sense. I kept searching until one day I went with my father to the old Cairo district. And there, an old bookstore caught my attention. I went in and asked about the book, and to my surprise, it was there. The seller warned me against buying it, saying,
"This book is not for joking or playing."
But I ignored his warning and bought it. It had a fine brown leather cover. I hid it from my father and felt a mysterious triumph because I had finally found it. I returned home and started reading immediately. In the introduction, there was a warning. Close the doors and windows and turn on the lights before reading. But with my usual stubbornness, I turned off the lights, locked the door tightly, and began reading under the dim light of the lamp. It was written in the book's introduction that the author disclaims any responsibility for what might happen to the reader. I ignored the warning and thought it was just a way to provoke curiosity. I started reading from the beginning, then began skimming through the chapters to discover their contents. The title of the first chapter was "They Exist," and it spoke about the places where the jinn live and the times when they spread. It said that the jinn inhabit hidden worlds around us and sometimes appear between 11 at night and 2 in the morning. Moments of joy for them in which they coexist with the human world until dawn. And to cross into our world, they may take the form of animals or insects such as a donkey, a dog, a cat, or a mouse, especially black cats. in which they manifest more than in any other creature. I continued reading and found descriptions of their forms. Some were tall, others short, red, black, or yellow. Some were a hybrid combining the head of a dog with a human body, or the body of a chicken with a strange head. Some had one eye, and others 20 eyes on a single face. My curiosity grew, so I moved on to the second chapter titled, "They Eat Like Us." The chapter explains that food is the common link between humans and jinn. They eat and drink, but their food contains no salt, and they adore drinking blood. They reproduce like humans, and their males are fascinated by human women. It also mentioned that jinn die after very long lives that may last for centuries. It stated that in Morocco, people talk about them as if they live among them. I was reading with my heart pounding, wondering whether this information was true or mere myths. I continued reading until I reached the 9th chapter titled, "Rituals of Summoning the Jinn." At its beginning, there were strict warnings saying, "If you are brave and fear nothing, bring a meal without salt, light 11 candles, burn incense without scent, and bring a rope tied into 11 knots inside a closed circle." I rushed with excitement and began searching the house for the required items, and I found them all available at home. It was written that I must repeat a 4-letter word throughout the ritual. I started repeating it without stopping. I felt I was committing a disaster, yet my curiosity made me continue. I was about to finish when I heard knocking on the apartment door. I left my room, looking right and left. My father was not home. I called out, "Who's at the door?" But no one answered. I opened the door and found no one. So I closed it quickly and returned to my book. A feeling inside me told me it was a warning, but I ignored it. I continued reading until I reached a line that said, "During the ritual, if the door of your room or your house is knocked on, never open it, for that means he has announced his presence, and opening the door means you have welcomed him. You must then end the ritual immediately, for you are not qualified to receive him." When I read this sentence, I felt shocked and realized the magnitude of the disaster I had committed. I wondered in confusion, isn't this what I had been looking for all along? Isn't this what I had sought for myself? My father returned home, and I sat with him for a while until 10 at night. Then he said he was going to sleep. I felt as if I were committing a sin, moving silently like a thief. As soon as my father slept, I returned to my mysterious game and opened the book again. I stopped at a chapter titled "The Fairy Lady of the Swamps," Aisha Kandisha. Who, as the book mentioned, is one of the most famous female jinn in Morocco. She is known as the Lady of the Swamps, and some Moroccans in the past used to seek her, until her name became a curse for those who uttered it. The author mentioned that she has songs people think are folklore, but in truth, she is a hidden being whose reality no one knows. I kept reading until I heard the building's main door open. I hurried to the kitchen to tell my father, but then I heard our apartment door open from the outside. I screamed and fell to the ground and saw my father entering, saying anxiously,
"What's wrong? I just went to the supermarket."
I broke down crying. then said to him in a trembling voice, "I'm going to sleep, Father." I was really scared. I entered my room and began turning the pages of the book again. I found that the author mentioned a researcher named Westermark who had deeply studied this legend. He pointed out that ancient people used to perform terrifying rituals in her honor and would scream her name in a way that filled hearts with fear. People believed that she lived in springs, rivers, wells, and damp places, and the legends say that she sometimes appeared in the form of an old, wrinkled witch, and at other times in the form of a woman of enchanting beauty. My reading was interrupted by my father's sudden entrance. He had returned without me noticing, while I was completely absorbed in reading and astonished by what I was discovering. I heard him say,
"Nurjan, Nurjan."
I replied in astonishment, "Nur what?" He said,
"What's wrong with you, Nurhan?"
I told him, "No, you said Nurjan." He looked at me and laughed, saying,
"Nor what? What are you reading? And why is your face so pale?"
I said, "Father, I was reading a horror story. It frightened me." My father laughed and said,
"Ah, that's why you thought I said Nurjan. It's a beautiful name, by the way, and it suits you."
Then he smiled and left the room. I slept and had a terrifying dream. 11 short figures, their bodies completely black, standing at my doorstep. As soon as I opened the door, they rushed inside. I saw myself floating in the air, watching them from above, and I saw many versions of myself sitting around me, holding the same book, laughing. Then they all rushed into my body at once. I woke up to my father's voice shaking me violently, saying,
"What's wrong, Nurhan? Why are you screaming and saying stay away from me?"
I sat there, wishing only for the night to pass peacefully, but deep down, I knew that my life had changed forever since that cursed night. I admitted that my curiosity had led me into chaos. The book I had read destroyed my life, and its shadow still haunts me to this day. I can no longer rid myself of its illusions. I see the creatures as shadows moving around the house, waiting for me on my bed whenever I'm about to sleep. My sleep turned into a constant nightmare. Voices and faces haunt me in my dreams. And even in the street, I see ghosts that look like me, but their features change every time I get close to them. People around me began to look at me with suspicion, as if I had lost my mind. I blamed my separated parents, believing that their selfishness and distance were the reason I ended up like this. I wished they had taken responsibility for me and hadn't let me drown in the emptiness that pushed me to explore a dark and dangerous world. But I realized that regret was useless now. My life has completely changed. It no longer resembles that of a human. All that remains within me is a deep regret for having approached that damned world.
Thank you for following. And don't forget to subscribe, activate the bell, and share your opinions.